Welcome to WildRift, where the thrill of battle awaits. But don't worry, not all champions are complex to play. In fact, there are some easy to play champions that even beginners can handle, and in this video we'll showcase the best easy to play champions in WildRift. From powerful bruisers to agile assassins, we've got you covered, so sit back, relax, and let's explore the champions that will make your journey in WildRift just like a breeze. My name is Kirks, and before we hop into the video, let's talk about our question of the day. What is your strategy for early game domination? Let me know in the comments below. Our first champion is an all-time classic with Mr. Garen. Garen is a champion that becomes unbelievably tanky and yet will always, and by always I mean literally always, one-tap an enemy AD carry. This champion has the type of possibility or ability to just jump on top of your head with a flash and his first ability combining it with Ignite and his ultimate, and he sends you into the afterlife instantly. But realistically speaking, why is Garen so easy to pilot? First, this champion is a very tanky character. He has so much damage mitigation from his second ability, and all his items offer him health, damage, and tankiness in general alike. If you combine this, he turns into a force to reckon with. Also, with Demolish in the game, he has an easy time taking down towers if he's left alone for just a second. Needlessly to say, it's also very important that the champion's combos are not too complex for them to be easy. And if you're honest, the most important combo on Garen is using your first ability after an auto attack to cancel the auto attack animation. And that's basically it. Apart from that, it's about how you use your second ability to mitigate the most incoming damage. So let's say an incoming stun is very visible to you, and you just press your second ability and then it's reduced by a lot of time and damage you receive during that time. It's a very powerful trick. Another thing that's quite cool with Garen is the ability to teamfight. So as you climb, most of the time you'll see all of those useless fights. And with such a character like Garen, you will often be presented with the ability to just quickly one-tap somebody and just leave, without any worry in the world, because it's really difficult to kill you. Also on top of this, a champion that obviously isn't as easy to take down such as Garen, you are forgiven a lot of your sins. And being able to commit a lot of mistakes and still win is something that makes it substantially easier for you to climb. That's why people play the most meta champions. They are very forgiving or just very powerful if you do little mistakes. It's most of the time a mixture of both. The next champion on this list is Mr. Brand. And everybody says Brand is bad or anything, but Brand really isn't bad. Usually Brand is a champion that requires a specific draft to work well into, but if we are really honest, Brand is one of the easiest champions to play that literally work all the time by just jumping into an enemy teamfight and just blowing everyone up. And the only thing you have to fulfill is basically using your entire combo into the enemy team, blowing them up, and then you can die. It doesn't matter if you get off a second rotation, because once you hit all your spells into the teamfight, your damage is probably that damage of what an AD carry usually does in 3 games combined in just one fight. With basically that said, you already have the framework of how you can operate on Brand. But even during the laning phase, he isn't the weakest of champions. He features a lot of damage from a lot of distance. And the only real problem for him is making sure he can hit his full rotation on enemy champions, because it's not that easy. Hitting his third ability is obviously on click, and the second is also okay, but you need 3 spells for the passive. But if you can secure or play in a way where it's allowed for you to hit your first ability into a full combo into the enemy champion, then you'll realize that this champion deals quite a lot of damage even during the laning phase. It's quite interesting. The next champion on this list is Mr. Shen, or Lovely Ninja. This champion is a decent pick for the Baron lane and the jungle alike. Yes, he has been nerfed for the jungle role, but you can still abuse this champion if you have trouble overall piloting the map. There's a saying that if you have issues with rotating, what about picking a champion with a global ability? That way you can never really be too late to a play, at least if you have your ultimate available. Adding that to the fact that you are a very tanky champion, which is yet again very forgiving, looking at Garen by the way, you still feature a lot of damage, which means you have carry potential, but obviously you are not the greatest carry. But we are focusing on easy to play champions, so given the fact that we are talking about this, it's less likely that you're a hardcore 1v9 player, and therefore a champion like Shen is probably better suited for you. For also in jungling, you have to remind yourself that even on the very first buff, you can use 6 charges of your first ability if you do it correctly. If you pull back the sword relatively early at like 16 seconds, the sword will reach you and you will keep 3 stacks of your first ability. Then you have an accelerated cooldown on your first ability again, which results in you clearing the jungle faster. For our next champion, we have Miss Fortune. Miss Fortune is often overlooked and just said she's a bad champion. Well, that is not entirely true. So with the changes to the bone plating in the game, or basically making bone plating the meta rune in the resolve tree, Miss Fortune has gotten stronger. You might ask why. So Miss Fortune is a champion that can, without any commitment, proc the enemy's bone plating from far, far, far away. With that in mind, while also running bone plating herself, it makes her kinda decent in laning, which is her strength in the game, like laning and being an abusive laner. Which is something most of the people in this game don't really abuse because they think lane is useless. Without lying to you, laning is less important than on League PC, but you can still get a lot of things done with laning in WildRift. Setting up a wave for a dive, poking out the enemy and just overall scaling well into the later stages of the game is something that is often very heavily overlooked. Also Miss Fortune, with the idea of running Kraken Slayer and Essence Reaver, you'll get a lot of bonus damage which you usually don't have access to. So everyone running Conquer on her, you're trolling. Stop. It's not really worth it. But also about objective and easiness to play, Miss Fortune is quite easy to play and very intuitive. You just angle yourself in a proper way, use your first ability to poke out the enemy, run around, slow down the enemy with your third ability, and that's literally that. She's also quite easy to maneuver because of her bonus movement speed from her passive, which makes it really, really difficult for you to not be in the right position, if you know what the right position is. But if you stay out of harm's way, the most important combo you have to always think of is only using your third ability into your ultimate. If you do this at an objective, you'll a lot of times have high success rates. The next easy to play champion is Kassadin. Kassadin, even though he got nerfed quite a lot of times, he is still a champion that you have to reckon with. This champion, as much as every AP champion in the game, heavily scales and one-shots you at some point. Most of the time, for AP champions, that's around the 3 item mark, and then it only gets worse for your team. Obviously, Kassadin can't utilize the Luden's Echo as much as other champions do, because he would be quite squishy, but you can give it a shot if you really want to. But the primary thing about Kassadin is he is a win condition. The longer the game goes on, the better he becomes. And we all know that most of the games in lower elo, or generally speaking, even in current high elo due to the inflation, we had like 35k Grandmaster players, which obviously do not belong there. Games get naturally extended. If games are not ended within a reasonable amount of time, those champions become nukes. And once they are unleashed, they'll take over the Rift and literally, quite literally, one-shot anything in their way. Because even now, for the AP defensive items, we have limited options in terms of survivability. Yes, Spirit Visage got buffed, but still, in a lot of build paths there's no place, and even with Spirit Visage, a Kassadin will still one-shot you. That is the state of AP champions in the game. I'm really curious if they change something about this in the near future, but I really hope so, because AP champions, in all honesty, are way too strong. And that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel and come back for more. See you tomorrow.